Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your day. And I want to thank you for being on this journey, for being invested in yourself. It is truly a joy to walk with you and be part of your time and your energy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this investment in you an important part of your life. It is truly a powerful thing when we look to invest in ourselves, when we look to grow in ourselves, when we look to say that we are important and we give that energy to really strive to be our best selves. Now, again, I've said many times, just when we say we're being our best selves doesn't mean that who we are is bad. It's not a critique or a judgment. It's just a statement to say we can grow. There are areas in life that need advancement and improvement, and you're here on this journey because you know that to be true. You know that to be the case. So good for you for being here. Good for you for making that investment in yourself. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes come up. Share them. Share them out there. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you're at. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening, and you'll get notifications when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com. I'd love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I really would love to hear from you, see how it's going. GraceLifeCoaching.com. So we have been on this journey through showing up for ourselves. And we have talked about showing up, about discipline, about honesty, which is where we went last episode. Today, I want to bring out something else that's really important when we show up for ourselves. Something we've talked about before, something we've done multiple pieces on before, but it's so important that I'm going to bring back to it again. And it's about boundaries. Boundaries are so important. Now, you may be thinking, boundaries, again. Well, you know what? If you're practicing good boundaries, and this is just going to reinforce it. If you struggle with boundaries, maybe this will be something here that can help you to find more boundaries and more energy around that to show up for yourself. Because you might have the right mindset. You can even have the right plan. You can have the momentum, but if you don't protect your time and energy, you're going to lose it. You're just going to lose it. And not because you're weak, but because you never created the structure that supports your growth. Boundaries are the structure that we use to support our growth. And that's why they're so important. They're so important in many different areas. But when we're looking to show up for ourselves, when we're looking to give more of ourselves and protect ourselves and grow ourselves, boundaries become all the more important. So today I want to talk about how to build boundaries that actually work and why they're important. See, look, here's the deal. If you don't protect your time, someone else will use it. That's just how it is. If you don't protect your time, someone else will use it. And I don't say that as a negative. I don't say that to be a downer. It's just reality. If you don't protect your time, someone else will fill it. People will ask for your attention. They will expect your availability. They will fill your schedule. They'll pull your energy in different directions. That's what it means to have people in our lives. And if we don't protect our energy, someone else will use it. If you don't have boundaries, you'll say yes more than you should. Not because you want to, but because you don't want to disappoint people. You don't want conflict. You don't want to feel guilty. Look, these are all the reasons I hear when I talk about setting boundaries with people, why they don't set boundaries. I don't want to disappoint people by saying no. Well, every time you say no, it might be a disappointment to them, but it's a yes to you, all right? Or I don't want conflict. Well, you know, if someone's going to crash your boundaries or expect more of you and there's going to be conflict, then maybe you need to question about who that person is in your life. Or pulling energy, away from you. You don't want to feel guilty. Well, that's something that we all have to deal with. We all have to deal with those feelings when we say no. Boundaries are important because if you don't have them, you overextend. And over time, that leads to burnout, it leads to frustration, it leads to lack of progress, not because you don't care about your goals, but because you've given your time away. See how that's how it works. When we don't set boundaries and protect our time, we give it away to someone else. And time is our limited commodity. Time is the most important thing that we have because we can't make more time. We can make more money, make more friends, but we can't make more time. So protecting our time is vitally important. Now, look, some people misunderstand boundaries. When I talk about boundaries and deal with boundaries, some people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are being harsh or pushing people away or being selfish. That's not the case. And if you set boundaries and people respond that way, then that's really about the person, because that's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are clarity. They clarify what you will and won't invest in. They clarify where you will and won't invest your energy, your time. They are clarity. And clarity is extraordinarily important. When we're looking at being intentional and growing, we need that clarity. So boundaries are clarity. They define what you will accept. They define what you won't accept. They'll define what matters to you. And without that clarity, you default to other people's priorities. You default to other people's opinions. You default to other people's energy. When we don't define what we will and won't accept, when we don't define what matters most to us, then it will be whatever matters most to someone else that's going to take our energy and our time. So boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about managing yourself. And that's the thing. We want to think that boundaries are controlling others. No, boundaries aren't controlling others. Boundaries are about managing yourself. They're about managing your time and your energy and your focus. See, and this is all about showing up for you, right? So you want to learn to better manage your time and your energy and your focus, and that's where boundaries come in. And here's the key. If you don't set boundaries, you will constantly be reacting instead of building. If you don't set boundaries around your time and your energy and your focus, then your time and your energy and your focus is constantly going to be reactive. You're going to be reacting to what other people want. You're going to be reacting to what other people need. You're going to be reacting to what other people are asking of you rather than building something for yourself. Okay? That is where boundaries create clarity. That is where boundaries create a structure that you can live in, and then you can then advance forward in growth. Now, let's be real. Let's be real. Setting boundaries are uncomfortable. Yes, they are. Setting boundaries are very uncomfortable because it requires you saying no. It requires you possibly disappointing people. It requires the possibility of creating tension at times. And most people, we avoid that. We don't like that. We don't like saying no. We don't like causing disappointment in other people. We don't like creating tension at times. That's something that we avoid at all costs. People want to think, I don't want to upset them. It's easier to just say yes. I'll figure it out later. Have you ever said that? They want me to do something, you're asked to do something, and you really don't want to do it, but it's easier to just say yes. I don't want to upset them, so I'm going to say yes. I'll figure it out later. I'll figure out the time. I'll figure out the energy later. I'm just going to say yes. But every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your growth, your goals, your priority, you're saying no to something that does. Remember, time is not limitless. Time is the limited commodity. So every time we put time or energy or focus into something that doesn't align with where we want to go, then we're saying no to something that does. I'm going to schedule a workout today. I work out every day, but somebody needs me. I could say no, it's not really that vital because I want to get my workout in, or I could say yes because I don't want to upset them, but I'm not going to get my workout in. See how that works? Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your goals or your priorities, you say no to something that does. And over time, that builds resentment. Over time, that builds resentment, not just towards the other, but also towards yourself. Because deep down, you're not protecting what matters. You're not protecting that one thing that matters above everything else, and that is your time, your area, your growth, your focus. That is why boundaries are so important, because boundaries are the tool that we use to protect that stuff. Boundaries are the tools that we use to employ that protection. Now, let's get real. Let's get actionable here. Again, we've talked about boundaries before. I think we have a pretty good handle on what boundaries are. How do we implement them? Okay, the first thing is identify what matters most. You can't set boundaries if you don't know your priorities. So what is your priority? When you want to show up for yourself, what is your priority? What is your main thing? What is the thing that you want to protect above everything else? What is your priority? What are you trying to build? Are you trying to build a healthier lifestyle? Are you trying to build a better physique? Are you trying to build more money? Are you trying to build more financial security? What is your priority? Identify what matters. What actually matters in this season of life. Because boundaries protect priorities. Without clarity, you'll protect everything and accomplish nothing. So what truly matters? When you're looking at showing up for yourself, when you're looking at advancing that part of your life, what is happening in this season of life that is a priority for you? Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's getting away from alcohol. Maybe it's getting away from toxic friendships. What is your priority? Identify it. Be clear about it. The more clear you are about your priorities, the more you can build the boundaries to protect them. So important. Learn to say no. Learn to say no. I've said this before. No is a complete statement. Learn to say no without over-explaining. You are of your own agency. You are controlling yourself. Your no is a statement. Learn to say no. You don't need long justifications. You don't need to convince anyone. A simple, respectful no is enough. And it should be enough. And if you're dealing with people that it isn't, then you really need to start to question the role and the power that they have in your life. No is a complete statement. You don't need to be a jerk about it. You don't need to be mean about it, but no is a complete statement. Learn to say no. I can't commit to that right now, or I need to focus on some priorities this week, or that doesn't fit into my schedule. Clear, direct, and respectful. Learn to say no. Learn to say no. No is a complete statement, okay? And that's one that it's a powerful statement once we learn how to say it. Learn to say no. Nope, that's just not part of my reality right now. Because remember, every no to something that doesn't align with you is a yes to something that does. Every no to something that doesn't align with you is a yes to something that does. Okay? Another thing is to block your time for yourself. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. I don't know about you, but when I look at my day is pretty regimented. I've got a lot of things scheduled into my day. So if I don't schedule time for me, it probably isn't going to happen. So schedule time for yourself, because if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. Make yourself a priority. Block time for your growth. Block time for your habits. Block time for your priorities. Block time for your rest and your rejuvenation. Treat it like it's an appointment. Treat that time like it would be with a client or a friend, because it is. It is an appointment. Block time for you. Make you a priority by blocking time for you. Make it happen. Make it into your schedule. Build it into your schedule, okay? Because if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. I think we've all said, if I get to I'll read when I get to the end of the day. Or if I have time at the end of the day, I'll read. Well, there's never time at the end of the day, is there? Because there's always more things to do. So make time for you. Block it. Make an appointment. Say, I'm important enough to make time in my schedule for me. Another thing is to limit energy drains. We have so many energy drains, and not everything that takes our time is obvious. Some things are subtle but drain our energy. Certain conversations or certain people. People can be energy drains. They can. Being in conversations or being in relationship can be an energy drain. Constant notifications. Those are massive energy drains. We don't necessarily see them as that, but they're massive energy drains. There's some research that says that if you're highly focused on something and you get a notification, let's say your phone pings, a text comes in or a message comes in or a Facebook something or other comes up, and that distracts you, it takes up to 15 minutes to get back to the focal point you were when that notification comes in. And what happens when a notification comes in? What do? We check them, right? So every time a notification comes in, somebody else, that's a boundary. Constant notifications are energy drains. Turn your notifications off. And if you can't, then when you need that strong block of time, set your phone on airplane mode or do not disturb mode so that your phone will not give you the notifications. Notifications constantly are an energy drain. Unstructured time is an energy drain. Now, be clear. There's a difference between unstructured time and time of rest. Unstructured time is I have an hour, so I'm just going to sit here for an hour and doom scroll, or I'm just going to, I really don't have anything to do for the next hour. Unstructured time is an energy drain because we don't advance in that unstructured time. Usually we default. We look for comfort, all right? So unstructured time is another, really subliminal energy drain, something that is not very obvious. So ask yourself, what leaves me feeling depleted? What is it that is so depleting for you to show up for yourself? What are those energy drains? And maybe it's not one of the ones I listed. Maybe it's something else. What is a depletion of your energy drain? Maybe it is scrolling too much. Maybe it is too much time in front of the screen. Maybe it is too much time talking to this person or doing that. What is it? Begin to reduce it. Not all at once, but begin to reduce it. Intentionally begin to reduce it. You know, if you like to scroll, if you like to be on social media, which is fine. I mean, I'm happy you're on social media because a lot of the stuff that I do is connected to social media. Set a time limit. Rather than scrolling for 2 hours, set a 30-minute alarm. Say, you know, I'm going to scroll for the next 30 minutes. And then when the alarm goes off, that's it. I'm done. And then decrease that. 28 minutes, 26 minutes, 24 minutes. Intentionally begin to reduce those things that drain your energy. Okay? Because it's important. It's important in how we shift. It's important in how we shift our mind and our thinking around this. When we shift our mind and our thinking around boundaries, when we shift from thinking I need to make everybody happy to start thinking along the lines of I need to stay aligned with what matters for me, that's where things begin to change. Because when you protect your time and energy, you show up better, not just for yourself, but for everything that actually matters in your life. Remember, we're talking about showing up for you. We're talking about showing up for you. So when you start asking the deeper question, I need to stay aligned with what matters to me. What does that mean? Start thinking that way. Then you start protecting your time. You start saying, you know what, that doesn't matter to me. And it doesn't have to be judgmental or critical. That just doesn't matter to me. That's not important in my alignment. When you do that, you begin to protect your time and your energy. You show up better, not just for yourself, but for everyone that actually matters in your life, for everything that matters in your life. You show up better because you're more aligned with your boundaries. So here's what I would challenge you to do. Say no to one thing this week that doesn't align with your priorities. Just one thing. Then use that time for something that moves you forward. Does scrolling on social media for an hour align with your priorities? No, it probably doesn't. So why don't you scroll for half an hour and then take the other half hour and go for a walk or prep a meal or read a recipe or do some planks and some glute bridges or something? What are you aligning with? And then say no to one thing that doesn't align with what matters to you. One thing. Then use that time moving forward for something that does. Because every boundary you set reinforces the life you're trying to build. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? We're trying to show up for ourselves. Every boundary you set is an alignment for who you want to be. You don't need more time. You need to protect the time that you already have. That's the truth. None of us get more time. We just need to protect the time that we have. Because showing up for yourself means creating the space to actually do it. And boundaries are the tool that we use to create that space. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. Or if you're on one of the listening platforms, follow us, give us a rating and review. And if you want to reach out to me, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.